Hello and welcome to this Planner Masterclass. In this session 5 we're going to be looking at customizing the structure of our planner templates. So we're going to start with what is a typical planner template file. This will vary depending on which method you've opened and where you've got your planner template from. And so what we're thinking about here is setting up the standard template to have in it the things that we want, it to work the way that we want, to show the things that we're interested in, and to have the correct structure for calculating risks and issue models, etc. So the first thing is, which data types we're going to support in our file. So we can see here that this template supports plans, risks, issues, it's got calendar and milestones. Now that's all controllable for you from up here on the program view. That's assuming it's not been locked down. So it is possible to password protect this so that your template can't be changed once you've set it how you want it. So normally the ones we provide in our published methods are open, so you can tailor that. But often in corporate environments, when people devise their own method, they then lock it down so that people can't change it. So you'll see here that this has currently got all switched on. If we just wanted this to be a plan, it now hides away the risk and issue tabs. We see plan, calendar, milestone. If we come back and went for a risk and issue register, which is the most common one after that, we get risks and issues and calendar. We don't get a milestone timeline because there are no milestones relevant anymore. And of course, issue and risk responses, which have a date on them, will appear in the calendar. So we still see the calendar view. So you get the appropriate displays of tabs there, and it hides the rest away from you. And like I say, that can be locked down so that you can put out a file which is a combined risk and issue register, like this would be, for example. So let's just switch that back to all. And then let's have a think about customizing, what's within that. The first thing we're going to look at is these statuses here that we have for tasks, risks and issues. So let's just click it to see how it works. We can choose from the available list. So I'm going to put an amber status, for example, on plan, like that. And we could choose a green one for risks, for example. They're different for plan, risks and issues. Now, those are available to set up. It's quite common that people will use green, amber, red, but they might use good, bad, they might use green, amber, red and closed or something like that. So you can tailor those things. All of these things are available to tailor here in Manage Lookups. And again, that can be locked down when you password protect your planner template file. So again, in our standard ones, this will be open and available for you to go and look at, but in most corporate environments it will have been locked down when people set up their method and standardize the contents of their template. The other things we're going to be looking at are outside plans. They're mainly in risks and issues, and they're going to be things like the choice of status, the choice of, so we can see here we've got 3, and the choice of categories that we've got, the way in which our calculation works for risk rating, the choices that we've got for setting up our issues, etc. So let's go in and have a look at those. So Manage Lookups. Here we can see all the various options. The first thing are the things we looked at a moment ago: plan, risk, task and issue statuses. So we can see we've got the choices here: green, amber, red. We've got the colors associated with them, and we can just simply select one. We could change it and apply, or we could add a new one, and that would appear on the list. We could change its order so that it appears in the pick list as we want it to. So pretty straightforward to do, and all of these forms actually work in the same way. The obviously risk and task ones are the same because we wanted a consistent set across that. You may choose to do something different, of course, and you can do that. The colors all work on hex colors, so you just need to simply look that up to see exactly which color you want to appear in the space. And we also have a blank entry as well, of course, and that's the first entry in the item in the list, and therefore that's what it goes into. When it first opens the form, it'll be that blank item. So let's have a look at the risk ones. We've got categories, and we can see our category list here behind. So we simply select that, and again, it's got the items, it's got the order of them. We can move them up and down, we can add new ones, etc. We're not interested in colors here, but we are interested in putting in whichever categories support the sort of way that you want to collect and categorize and sort your risks. Some people don't use them at all. just have one category. I think it's good to try and break those down if you can, and your organization might have some pre-existing policies and guidance about how they want to do that. So we've then got the things that drive the calculation. So we've got impact, probability and proximity. All of them can factor into the calculation of risk. So this particular template uses 5 risk impacts. We've got negligible, low, medium, high and severe, each with a number associated with it. Of course, again, we can change that list to be whatever we want it to be, and the number to be whatever we want it to be as well. You multiply impact by probability. In this particular template, probability is on a scale of 0 to 100 with a 5% graduation, and we've got the values that match that. So if we had a 5 in the impact and a 50% in the probability, we would end up with a 2.5 rating. And again, proximity, we can rate proximity, and in this model, proximity is rated. So if a risk is identified as long-term, it would still be 2.5. If it was now, it would be 25, because it's impacted based on how close the risk is to occurring. So you can set this model up, obviously, in this term to work in whatever way you want to, using those 3 different elements. If you want to just use 2 of them, and it's quite common to use impact and probability and skip proximity, you would just strike these values to 1, so that you could have different pick list items. So you're collecting information about the proximity of the risk, but you're not influencing the scoring with that. Risk status is the status here, and that drives the color coding of this table: open, action, pending, closed. People have parked, people have became an issue as a common one as well. So you can do all sorts of different things there, like I say, depending on what it is that you do. And that's the key message here. You can make Planner do an awful lot of things that match your organization's requirements. Issues we'll have a look at in just a second, but the responses are important to risks and issues, and actually they share categories: a response status and a response category. These will be shared between all responses, whether they're risk or issue types, and that makes it easier when we're moving risks to issues or issues to risks, which you can do within the Planner tool when they're both available in the same file. That they're going to be matching lookups. So you start working on a risk, you put in place some response actions, that risk unfortunately becomes an issue, that all then transfers across, and all the information you've collected in those will be transferable directly. Should they be different, the response lists and types, etc., then that's not the case. So we do try and keep them the same, using the same categories. When we think about issues, we've got some things again about the status, the issue types. So we've got request for change, off spec, problem. They're the standard 3 that Prince2 might use. Action, decision. So if you like, you can think about this as a RAID: risk, issue, action, decision, log. Some people also store dependencies. Some people also will store in here things like lessons learned, and collect a wider range of data. And the issue form is much more appropriate for collecting those other sorts of types. So you log them as issue types. And you can then, of course, filter them later on using a view, just returning a list of all the lessons, or all the actions, or all the meeting actions, etc. You can, do that with the filters in views. Views is the first session we did in the masterclass, because it pervades all of these other aspects as well. A status is pretty obvious. Issue priority is sorting out, again, a pick list item, and issue quality impact rating. So we've got for the issues, when they become impacts to the project, you can record the quality, time and cost impacts of those, and this is a pick list for the quality impact. So you can make it a word-based one or a number-based one, as we've got here. So that's what it looks like in this particular Planner file. That's a standard sort of template. Let's go and have a look at another one. And this one's different, actually, because it uses a different sort of model. So if we come and look at the risks here, we'll see that the risks here are using a 5x5 model. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which has become probably a more standard approach. And the proximity, although we're collecting it, is not impacting the score because it's all set at 1. So it's a bit like the one I talked about earlier. You can also see we've got the risk rating colouring here as well, and that's reflecting down into these columns here, inherent and residual, and again those are set up in here as well. So we've got risk rating RAG here, and that's showing the categories at which the colours change. So it starts at a green. Once it gets to 7, it will turn anything into an amber. Once it gets to 15, it will turn anything into a red, and we can see that here in the results in the table. It's up to you to make sure it's in the right order, but it's a pretty obvious sort of thing to do, and you can put some data in and see how all that works. So this template is slightly different. It's got some different entries. It's got some similar ones. The statuses are all going to be red, amber, green. But this is about making it, do what you want to do in your organization. If you're just doing one project and one plan, it's not quite so relevant. But if you're establishing a new standard approach to the way all your projects are going to be delivered, you're going to want it to have your categories, your approaches to rating, and it's all there preset for the entire team. So every time they launch a project, and all projects will use the same register, so you're getting consistent data collection and analysis. You can compare one project to another, for example. So that's very important. Like I say, it's a slightly different approach on this particular one. Of course, all these forms are the same. The other things that you can do here in terms of customization is you can put in your own links to guidance. So we have guidance links available in the tool here. We've got some standard ones to publish guidance on our website, but you can put in your own plan guidance if you want to, which will, if one is present, will overwrite the global one, and so you could provide a link to specific guidance about dealing with issues on a particular project, or you could make it for your organization, linking to your website where you've got some reference materials about how to categorize risks, for example. So we don't include the guidance for risk categorization within the plan, but you can have a link to it. And if we come back to here and risks and click on our thing, you'll see it's got a link to guidance, and that's going to take you off to that guidance link. So you can put a link here that's going to encourage people to think about how they categorize what is considered to be a medium or a high impact, and they can go and read about that. So again, just another way that you can personalize, customize Planner to match your particular requirements. You might do this for your one plan when it's one project, but this is really about driving standardization into your methodologies and your approaches, getting consistency across the way you collect things across all of your projects. Okay, I hope you found that really helpful. There is now starting to build a fairly good set of Masterclass videos, so by all means go back and have a look at some of the others, as well as the ones about turning lessons learned into risk analysis as well. Okay, thank you very much.